What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the JeffMan316 Custom YouTube channel. I'm your host, JeffMan316, your pop culture reporter, and welcome back to what's going to be a fan film review. In this video, I'm going to review the fan film It's Me. What? That phone shouldn't even be hooked up. Let me get that. Sorry about this, folks. Thought this phone was unhooked a long time ago. Hello?
This sucks. Yeah, it really sucks.
What do you mean? What do you mean it sucks? How would you know? Have you watched it? You haven't even heard my review yet either. Which were you talking about, the movie or my review? Either way, quit calling this number. Thanks. Sorry about that. That was weird. I thought that this phone was unhooked and it shouldn't have even worked. So I don't know why I got any calls. But either way, like I said in this video, we're going to get my review, my first take on the fan film It's Me. Sorry about that. Let me grab this again. Hello?
Do you like scary movies?
Yes, I love scary movies. What does that have to do with anything? Will you quit with the phony phone calls and stop interrupting me? I'm trying to record a video. Thanks. So hopefully that'll be the last one. So like I was saying, where was I? I'm gonna give you my first take and my review of the fan film. All right, this is getting ridiculous. Sorry, this will definitely be the last one. Hello.
Have you checked the children?
My child is like 19 years old. Why would I be checking him? And stop calling this number. This is ridiculous. I'm trying to record some videos here and you keep interrupting. This will be the last time. Stop calling. Alright, I unplugged it. There's no way they'll be calling now. So, sorry about that. So, hopefully we won't get interrupted again during this video. And like I was saying, I'm going to give my take on the fan film It's Me, Billy. Hey, look, I finally got it out. So before we get into my take on this fan film, do me a favor, do all the normal YouTube stuff. Like the video, give it the thumbs up, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm going to do a lot more movie reviews in 2021. So how are you going to know when I do those? Hit the notification bell after you subscribe and you'll be the first to know when I post new videos. So let's finally get to my review of It's Me, Billy. Let's go. So It's Me, Billy is the new fan film from the creative team of Dave McRae and Bruce Dale. I think this film should be considered the unofficial sequel to the Canadian horror classic Black Christmas. Black Christmas was originally directed by Bob Clark back in 1974. And I don't know if you know who Bob Clark is, but he's directed a really wide, weird range of films. A lot of different genres. Black Christmas, like I said, he directed that in 1974. He directed the raunchy comedy Porky's in 1981. And then he directed the family classic A Christmas Story in 1983. So wow, that's just a weird range and selection of movies there. The original Black Christmas never had a sequel though. And even though the ending really did leave the door open for one. And they could have continued this story if they wanted to, so what a shame that they didn't. But from what I understand, though, Bob Clark did plan on having a sequel, and it would continue the story of the main survivor, Jess, who would just continue to be tormented by the sadistic killer, Billy, who stalked her and her friends throughout the whole original film. So from what I remember reading on that most reliable source ever, the internet, John Carpenter even saw Black Christmas and then talked to Bob Clark about a potential sequel. Clark relayed to him the idea about the killer Billy, who would have been caught, I guess, but after Black Christmas and before the sequel would start. And then Billy would eventually escape from a mental institution. Then he would head back to the original house, claim more victims, and try to finish what he started with Jess. So as you can see, this was probably most likely Carpenter's original inspiration for his classic, Halloween, the babysitter killer film that came out in 1978. So it's awesome how these types of movies can get linked together through history. So horror history is just cool to read about. So don't hate me when I tell you this, though. So I'm going to confess something. I never really personally liked the original Black Christmas. Sorry about that. I just didn't like it growing up. I would have probably been around 3 when it originally came out. So obviously I wouldn't have seen it then. But even as a teenager, I never watched it. By the time I did see it, though, I was already into films like Friday the 13th and Halloween, and I liked those a lot better. I even remember thinking that the 1979 thriller, When a Stranger Called, at the time I thought it did a better job of presenting the idea of a killer making phone calls to his potential victims and then eventually stalking them. Black Christmas just didn't interest me at the time. It wasn't until I saw the remake of Black Christmas in, 2006, that I became interested in the original again. I remember after watching that one, I went out and bought the original on DVD. I watched it again, and then I thought to myself, what in the hell were you thinking, Jeff? The film was just extremely ahead of its time, and I thought it was awesome when I watched it the second time. I'm not even going to speak to that abysmal remake, reimagining, whatever the hell you want to call it, that came out in 2019. It doesn't even deserve a breath of my air. So now let's go on to 2021, and we finally have this unofficial sequel to Black Christmas. It arrives nearly 50 years after the original, and let me tell you, it does not disappoint. Since I was not a huge fan of the original, like I said, I didn't participate in their Indiegogo campaign, which I really regret now. While it's not the perfect film, and I do have a few minor issues with some of the plot details, this has to be the best, if not one of the best fan films that I've ever seen on YouTube. I really did enjoy Never Hike Alone and then Never Hike in the Snow. And this is right up there with them as one of my, like I said, one of my favorite fan films. So it's got to be right there at the top with those. So in this review, I'm going to give you some of my favorite aspects of the film. I'm, like I said, going to try to do it without giving too many spoilers. And I'm going to include a few minor nitpicks toward the end. But I don't want that to distract you from the overall greatness of this film and not make you not want to see it. So like I said, not going to give too many major spoilers, but I'll give you some basic plot points. Just in case you're still trying to decide whether you want to see it or not, or if you just want to hear my ramblings on the film. So the major character in this is named Sam, and she's the granddaughter of Jess Bradford, who was played by Olivia Hussey in the original film. Jess was the main survivor, like I said. She survived Billy's original night of terror. So Sam is traveling to her grandmother's house with her two best friends. They're named Justine and Emma, after her grandmother's, let's just say, presumed passing. It's there that they encounter Billy and the mayhem ensues, of course. So let's get into the production, man. The overall production, the cinematography, the sound design, the camera work, everything here is top notch. It rivals some of the horror movies that are coming out of Hollywood these days, and most of those are just PG-13 trash, but not this one. One of my favorite aspects of the film is at the beginning, those overhead tracking shots. I love those. I'm assuming they did some kind of drones to capture that footage, but it looks amazing. Those types of shots really got me in the mood of what's coming up next. I was like, wow, I really got hooked. It's like we're really traveling with the characters to whatever the next location is going to be. I loved it. It was done in similar to the styles of some of my other favorite movies like The Shining. And most recently, there's a scene in Midsommar, if you haven't seen that, where they do that. So check out that film if you haven't. It's got some amazing camera work too. The cinematography in that is awesome. But sorry, let's get back to the review of It's Me, Billy. I also like the fact that they kept the film really tight. It's under an hour. I think it's around 45 minutes. It felt like you got to know just enough about the characters before being reintroduced to Billy himself. I thought the idea of keeping the cast to a minimum was also a great idea in order to maximize the amount of time we get to spend with those few main characters before Billy goes to work. As far as Billy goes, though, I think they did an amazing job with their portrayal of the character. We are first introduced, or let's say reintroduced, to the character through the use of scary phone calls, just like in the original. And I gotta say that Dave McRae does some of the most awesome voice work, recreating that weird and deranged voice of Billy that I've ever heard. His version of that voice does justice to the iconic character from the original.
Please help me. Make it stop.
Who the hell is this?
Kill her! Kill her, Billy! Kill her!
They're all dead.
What did you do? What did you do? Look at you!
I know some have complained, though, that they show way too much of Billy in the film. Considering how he's presented, though, in the original film, I'm not really sure, but I do like how they did it here. You may have seen Billy on the screen way more in this film than in the original, but they still kept him hidden away a lot, in the shadows, dark, with like maybe some of his gray hair covering up his face. He was often creeping around, like I said, in those shadows, and they even used some similar POV camera work like they did in the original. There was a classic shot, though, that I love in the film, which really shows only one of his eyes as he prepares for some bloody mayhem. I won't give too much detail there, but I don't want to spoil too much. I do like all of the great callbacks that they included to the original film. They really inserted them into the right times and moments in the film. It made it feel like a true sequel. I'm not going to go into a lot of details because I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say for sure that the original Jess was a character in this universe, including the original actress. You get to see that. There's also some very iconic imagery and then props that are used to give more of an official feel to the fan film. I'm not going to spoil those here, but I do want to let you know to watch out for those, and then let me know if you catch most of those like I did. While I did, I've spent a lot of time singing the praises of Dave and Bruce and how they created the ultimate Black Christmas fan film for our generation. I'm going to mention a few minor issues that I did have. I guess I was listening to too many YouTube critics hailing this as the best fan film ever, maybe even one of, as good as a Hollywood film. That was even before I ever watched the fan film to begin with. So I was focusing way too much on the details to just maybe sit back and enjoy it. So I went ahead and watched the fan film a second time before I filmed this review. And then some of those minor nitpicks didn't bother me as much, but I wanted to go ahead and mention them here. Well, I wasn't even sure at first if I was even buying the fact that Sam should exist in this universe. Jess was so adamant in the original film that she was going to have an abortion that I'm not sure what would have changed her mind in the course of time to eventually keep the baby, especially if she thought it was the baby of a killer. But that ultimately led to the existence of her granddaughter Sam, so she had to have changed her mind. Like I said, I know that's being really nitpicky. While I thought all the three main actresses did a great job for a fan film, my favorites were Shelby Handley as Emma, and I'm not even going to try to slaughter the actress's last name, but it was the actress who played Justine, so I apologize for that. Victoria Mero was good as Sam, but unfortunately I didn't think she was as good as the other two actresses. I say that unfortunately because she was the main character and the focal point in the center of most of the story. I just did not think she delivered her dialogue as well as the other two, and her emotions were way too over the top in a couple of scenes. This was especially the case with the scene where she was supposed to be scared and crying and upset in the middle, and then again at the end, and I can't really go into spoilers to tell you why. I think she looked a little phony compared to the other two, and just wasn't the best actress, but she did a good job for a fan film, like I said, but I just liked the other two better. One issue that I did have was with the twists, or let's say the multiple twists that happened toward the end of the movie. There was one thing that happened in particular during the story that after that happened, I knew exactly how it was going to go and what at least one of the twists were going to be. So maybe that says more about me and my detective skills as a movie watcher than it does about the creators of this fan film, because I'm often able to figure out the endings of movies and twists long before they're even revealed in the film. I can't speak in too much detail, though, about my final issue that I have, but let's just say that it involves the death of Sam's grandmother, Jess, and how that affects the ending of the story. I cannot give too many details, like I said, without going and making it, spoilers, but I will say that if they were so close in their relationship, why was there no official funeral? None was even mentioned, and why wouldn't Sam have attended it? Maybe there is more to that story. Maybe they're going to tell more if they ever get the chance to do another one. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this review by saying I like how the film ends and how it does leave the door open, obviously, for another chapter in this story. So let's hope the positive reaction that I've heard and seen for It's Me, Billy either leads to another fan film, or it'll make Hollywood wake up and make the official sequel to this horror classic that we all deserve, because we got punched in the gut with that last reimagining. I do not even want to think about it, and like I said, I wasn't going to talk about it, so nothing about 2019. So overall, It's Me, Billy is a home run. I would recommend it to anyone, but I do want to recommend that you watch the original Black Christmas right before watching this, if you haven't, especially if you haven't seen it in a while, because I think it'll make you appreciate the amount of detail and the amount of love that they've put into making this film, and also how much they must have loved the original for going to the depths that they did to get the details pitch perfect in this movie. So what did you think? Have you seen It's Me, Billy? If so, let's chat about it in the comments. Also, am I too far off based on my comments and my opinions, or the minor issues that I brought up? Either way, why don't you just please go ahead and do the normal YouTube stuff for me? Why don't you go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and then once you're a subscriber, you know what the best way to support me after that? Hit the notification bell so you'll know when I post new movie reviews, toy hunts, anything pop culture related, because that's what we do here. So I want to thank everybody for their support, and I end this video by saying, this is JeffMan316, your pop culture reporter, signing out saying, wait a minute, I thought that phone was off. Sorry about this, hold on a second. Can I reach it? Hello? Oh my God. Black Christmas 2019. That is scary.